sure it's going real quick. Holy crap, we're streaming. Hey guys, welcome to episode 315 of the Trinity Force podcast. My name is Serial Box. I'm filling in for Pone tonight. And as you can see, we do not have any video up. That's because I am running very testy and kind of internet that's not really sure if we're going to be able to have video at all. So you've got a beautiful overlay with a bunch of black screens. But joining me tonight, we've got Punchnello.
We are professionals.
We are such professionals, and that's all we were talking about before we went live. And
not late at all or anything.
And the other black box that is actually here is Chira.
What's up?
So tonight, guys, we are bringing you. There's not a lot of content to cover right now, so we're going to be doing a mailbag episode. I don't know how long it's been since you guys last did one, but before we jump into that, as you guys have seen probably a number of times all week, we are having another promotion. We are bringing back the King to Claude t-shirts. So if you guys want to go to teespring.com/King to Claude or /King DC, don't type in King to Claude. That probably won't work. We're bringing those back. 100% of the proceeds will be donated to the National MS Society. That's to help our own to Claude, who we love. Sad to see him go for now. Yeah. But
yeah, all the proceeds are going to National MS Society. So if you want a pretty awesome T-shirt and you want to help us raise some money to combat an illness that is slowly claiming our good friend, please go and get one.
I was too cheap to pick one up the first time, but damn it, this time I couldn't resist. It's all going to a good cause.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy that we brought that back because it's great. I'm gonna pick one up this time too, I believe. I don't know why I wouldn't. And as you guys know, you can still keep talking to Claude on Twitter. He's been answering stuff pretty much the last couple of days because we keep seeing everything pop up on our Slack chat, which is nice to see because he still loves responding to you guys. He's still gonna be part of the network, and so love having him. Go support him. But our mailbag stuff, oh boy. So we'll just jump into the first one, and I guess we can kind of see where we go. I was also kind of thinking we might do a little bit of more preseason thoughts as we've gotten to play more into it. But our first question is from James, which we didn't get any more information than that. James says, I feel like when I go into a game, it really is my team that is keeping me from winning games. I played 3 games. The first half of every game, I did really well. Went 6-2 ? With Victor, and ended 18-6-14. Pretty good. But my team would overextend, not ward, or would just make dumb mistakes. I'm in Silver 5, and I feel that in every game I play, I can watch what others and see the mistakes which are leading to our defeat, but I'm left able to do nothing more than spectate. Does this make sense? I'm by no means a lol god, but I legitimately feel I can't advance, regardless of how hard I carry. Parentheses, I can't 1v5 a fed opponent team. Which isn't surprising.
How many times have we covered this?
I feel like it's the typical we bring it up probably once every 2 months sort of situation.
Well, I mean, that's not a bad thing to keep bringing up. If people haven't heard those episodes, what do you guys usually say to that?
Oh, so the first thing I have to say is that this is pretty much all mentality. Playing through and rising in the ladder in solo queue is all about a grind, and basically playing the odds is the wrong term, but the point I want to get across is if you're winning the majority of your games, and you're winning your lane consistently, thereby translating to winning the majority of your games, then you're going to increase your stock, guaranteed. It's just that you have to play a lot of games to do that. I mean, if you're winning 60% of your games and you only play 3 games a week, then you're not going to go anywhere because you need to put in the time. And yes, it does feel like your team cost you games, and sometimes they do. But those are the negative experiences that kind of stick out in your brain. Not every game is like that.
They're definitely the most memorable ones.
Yeah, and we also talked about how if you aren't the one that's performing poorly, if you're performing well in each of your games, then odds are your team is going to win because you've got, and we're talking about trolls and AFKs as well. You've got 5 people on the enemy team that could potentially be a troll or an AFK. But if you're not one of those, then you've only got 4 people on your team. So odds are, again, your team is going to be the successful one. But it all comes down to you got to put in the time, you got to play the games, and don't let I got a troll in 2 games in a row. I lose every game because my team sucks. Don't let that mentality take over, because then you're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to get too depressed, and you're not going to feel like playing anymore.
Yeah, it's I have found that, and this is going to be a little bit on the other side. Like it is going to average out. That's true. That's always, well, I should say always going to be true, but usually it will. If you're winning your lanes, you are going to be making a positive impact on your team. And the one thing that I see a lot of times is people will not take advantage of early leads. Will end up kind of getting super ahead, beat the crap out of their lane opponent. But the problem is, after they do that, they're not really sure what to do with that lead. And like you could see a bottom lane that'll just keep going bot. Like even though they killed turret, they'll just be like, well, if there's farm there, I guess I'll go do that. When you could be helping other people, helping the rest of your team get further ahead, especially now that there's an extra objective on the map early on. Like you can be more impactful, especially you're talking about playing Victor. You're already in mid lane. You can go start helping with Rift Herald. Go roam and gank lanes if you're ahead. Especially if you've pushed somebody back to their turret and you don't have anything else to do.
Yeah, learn how to shot call and try to direct your team.
Yeah.
Get them to take objectives and focus on those things, and start roaming, helping out other lanes. This is a how to carry topic.
This
where,
is this is the how to carry question that we've gotten time and again, and it becomes almost every time we get this question, it comes in as like, I usually perform this well, and we get like a stat line just like we did being an 18-6-14 game. Here's the thing though, those numbers don't mean anything if you didn't win that game.
Yeah.
So like, it doesn't matter if you went 20-2 in that game. You didn't carry the game because you didn't win. So like, that's technically not carrying. So you, even if you're doing really, really well, there's something in the game that you're either not doing right, and that like, hey, okay, my team's overextending in these situations. Maybe I should be with them, 20 seconds sooner. That way, like, we go into a fight that's 2-on-2 rather than him getting caught out 2v1. Or maybe I should just be more aggressive on trying to take X objective sooner, or try to finish the game more quickly while I have the advantage that I do. Or am I this far ahead that I can just shove down my lane and do whatever I feel like doing? There are a lot of things. Right,
if
right.
your teammates getting caught, ward more so they don't walk into an ambush.
Right. I actually I had a conversation with somebody earlier, because I just played a game earlier tonight too, and he made the argument that like he almost hates it when certain people ward if they don't pay attention to the words that they put down, which happens. But honestly, it's so good for your team, just because as you get better, you'll start to learn things, and there's no reason not to.
And you're watching your own wards, ping for your team if they can't
Right,
see it.
right. I mean, and it's not just that; it provides information for everybody, and hopefully they pick up on it. The thing is, if you didn't have those words down at all, they don't have the opportunity to pick up on it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, they might not pay attention to it 3 of 4 times, but let's say it does help 1 of 4 times. That's one more time than it would have otherwise.
And another reason your team might be getting caught out is if they're wandering and they don't really have an idea of what to do. And that can happen a lot in solo queue, is just your teammates, oh, what do we do now? They just kind of run around as chickens with their head cut off. A lot of the times people are just looking for someone to give them something to do, to be the shot caller, to say, hey, we should go for this next. Hey, dragon's up, we should take that. Hey, middle turret's still alive, let's go take that. So that's another way to learn how to carry, is just to direct your team.
Yeah, and they're going to listen to the person who's doing really well. Right. And on the flip side, and this will be advice towards carrying, but it's going to come from the other side of things. One thing that I've seen when you've all seen the games where somebody gets super far ahead, and but they're the only person that gets kills, and that's a really important distinction, because if you're saying, how is this guy not carrying? He's 7-1, but the rest of his team has 0 kills. They're all just getting assists the entire time.
It's a double-edged sword.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, but it's also something that you can easily counter, and it's by focusing down that target.
Right.
And so
that's the other side.
Yeah, so you flip that around. Now you're the person who's that guy who has that 7 kills. You need to help distribute, help spread the wealth. Not saying like walk away from a free kill and give it to somebody else, but more get more of your team involved, so that the gold difference between you and the rest of your team isn't so much that if the other team kills you, like manages to pick you out, they just wipe your team because they're so far behind.
And stay with your team too, because you've got all the power on your team. So if you're off by yourself and then the enemy team picks you off, and the rest of your team is dead meat,
Well,
you got to be there to help everybody else out.
That's especially true in the situation that he even named, where he's playing somebody like Victor, who, once you're that far ahead, you say you can't 1v5 a fed opponent team, but if you have that many kills early, they're probably not that fed early, and your ult's probably gonna half health more than one person in a good spot. Like, Victor's scary when he's ahead, and
Oh yeah.
there you could play a whole lot of influence depending on what champ you're playing when you have that. So like being in good positions for your team to pull things off, and not even saying that your team's not always going to be in a great position to do something such as, you know, get in a solid 3-on-3 fight in a narrow corridor, but it's way better to have you and somebody else in a spot and run into 2 or 3 enemies that you're already fed, so you might even be able to 2v1 them. Like, you're going to do more with other people than you would on your own. So instead of looking at this like, how I'm doing so well personally, how can I carry that way? Look at it more like, I did this great on my own. How can I make this work out for the team better?
Yeah, you're not going to be able to. You still have to think that you're the only person you can control, because you're not going to be able to. Like, you can try to convince people to do stuff, which is the shot calling side of things, which I think I personally enjoy doing, and it helps a ton when if you just talk in a calm demeanor, not raging every single time. Like, I'm so far ahead, listen to me. It's probably not going to work so well. But if
you can't be a bully.
You can be a lane bully.
No one listens to the bully.
Be a lane bully, but not a team bully.
That's right. Love your team.
Wow, this is gonna be a way like more kumbaya
Very
episode.
zen episode, yeah.
What was I?
Because Adam's not here.
Yeah, that's definitely it. The one other thing I wanted to cover real quick on that was, we're mentioning a ton of things to possibly do, but remember that's a lot of that I think is going to be you figuring out how to do those things and kind of making some of it muscle memory, or more like game muscle memory, knowing that, all right, I've just did this, now I should go roam. And even if it doesn't work the first couple times, like it works that 1 out of 4 you were saying, or even more frequently, that'll start to add up and you'll become more efficient at it, and you'll be improving your skills while helping the team, because it's not always super obvious what to do, but once you start practicing that, getting it more ingrained into you, when you know those kind of game situations, it'll help a ton. I'm scared because I can't hear anybody.
I agree.
Oh,
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, I hope.
That's fine. I think we killed that.
Yeah, I think that one's
Dead
done.
and gone.
Yeah. So scooting on down to the next one, we got Devin. Devin says, I've been maining Scion for about 2 months now, and I usually build him the traditional way, full tank. But recently I've been trying out an AP Bruiser and sometimes full AP, with some health AP items like Rod of Ages, with the acronym a little bit wrong, and have had recent success. I usually run this build when I have a mid Yasuo or Zed and a jungle tank, in order to compensate for the lack of AP, and I tend to chunk people. I was wondering if my recent success is mainly due to low elo not checking what people build, not knowing how to deal with a lane bully, or just not itemizing correctly. Because I'm considering trying my AP Scion in ranked, never have at this point, and I am assuming in ranked people will be checking my build more often. Is this something I would be able to use as I climb, or mainly as a cheese to win low elo games? I'm in silver. How do you guys think AP Scion fares, considering his E and W scale with AP and chunk people pretty well, along with the W passive making him still tanky to an extent? I'm going to have to breathe at the end of these questions.
I think the reason first of all, I think the reason he's having success is because people aren't itemizing correctly. However, I'd say if you're having success with it now, do take it into ranked and see how it does.
Ride that bitch so hard into the cliff. Yeah, I mean, if it works, it works for the level that you're at, but just be aware that this will have a point of diminishing returns, and that as soon as people realize how to deal with what you're doing and they know that you're doing what you're doing off the bat, you're not going to have as easy of a time in lane anymore because of it.
Well, also being able to lane bully is pretty important too. That's actually probably
Right.
more important. Is you need to get a lead in your lane in order to make this effective. Because if you look at W and E, they both have a zero point 0.4 AP ratio, which isn't very good. So you're basically going off of base damage, which means you need to get an experienced lead, and you need to take advantage of the early damage when possible, which is in the laning phase. So, he talks about that. Devin talks about that in his question. That he's dominating the lane, and I think that's the main contribution to this.
Well, and that's been something. I mean, this is almost kind of fixing Riot's nerfing of E going full tank anyway, since it used to be so abusive when he could go full tank and the scaling on it was a little bit better, or the base damage on it was a little bit better. So you could bully out early regardless of what you built. So instead of doing that as full tank because he can't anymore, it almost sounds like that's what he's doing by going full AP. But there are plenty of other champions who can bully just as hard as Scion can with another ability that is probably going to be better off in the mid lane.
Sorry. The pauses when I can't see you talk is pretty
Right,
weird.
right.
I'm like, hey,
Yep.
okay. Anyways, I wanted to also say that crap. What did I want to say? Oh, I like how Devin's looking at the rest of his team to decide on his build. I think that's something that a lot of people don't do often enough. He says he's building full AP when he's got a tank jungler and an AD mid. I really like that. I really like how he's doing that as opposed to just playing AP Scion all the time and
Right.
saying, all right, fuck it, AP Scion, let's go. I think that's another reason why he's having success is because you're deciding your build based off of your team.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I like about this. First of all, not only are you looking at your comp when you're trying to pick somebody out, which is already just a great thing to do.
I love you.
It's a very nice thing to do.
It's also a very mature thing to do that you recognize it as that what you're doing is a little bit of cheese. Like it is something that's not super viable later on. And I think that you didn't reference any other AP bruisers because there are a number of other ones you could be taking if you're going to be needing more actual AP damage or magic damage. Like he doesn't have great. Like if you pick full AP Scion to counteract the lack of AP damage in the rest of your team, you're not really going to be bringing a whole lot. Like you can run in, you could get your E to hit, and you can run in and I guess get your W popped, but that's pretty much it in terms of the magic damage you're bringing to the table. But I like that you're mixing up the damage a little bit. If you want to have a mixed damage source, great. I kind of like that. I don't really know what you build on Scion right now. Normally I would tank.
Yeah, you're still going tank.
Oh my gosh. So Esportspedia still has the essential items as Rabadon's, Abyssal, Void Staff. It's like it knew I was talking about AP Scion, which is pretty hilarious. But yeah, that's just even thinking about comps. Like you don't necessarily have to be picking the best your best champion for that role if you don't have like another good AP bruiser that you're really good at. But yeah, if you're looking at that, you are already going to be ahead of the curve, already thinking more towards your team comp than most people will in solo queue. And I think I'd ride that. I'd ride the game knowledge really hard to the top. But also, if you've got something like AP Scion, yeah, ride it till it's dead.
Mm-hmm. Ride the streak.
Yeah.
Respect streak.
All right. Jump on down. I guess this is the next one. Thomas here, which is I don't know if that was just like a formatting issue. I was curious on your guys' opinion on if it's possible that the new minion changes were designed in order to combat the very common turret trade meta in last season's LCS, because with the changes it feels like keeping the turrets alive are more beneficial than trading them. Sounds like maybe a little more of a LCS rundown question, just in terms of like a ranked fives kind of deal, because honestly, I haven't seen enough of the minion changes to really know if it's
crap. I haven't even played on the new patch. Did those minion changes finally go in?
Fired. You're fired.
Man, I've been busy. Get out of here. But no, have those minion changes finally gone in?
I believe they have.
I know they were going to, and then they were delayed again. I don't know if they were finally live or not.
No, I believe they are live. I want to check, but I don't know if it's necessarily to trade that, because it feels like if you were going to be a turret trade meta, those lanes would just start pushing. I don't know. It might a little bit, because if you were to do that, let's say top and bottom trade turrets, like they get one, like red side gets top and blue side gets bot turret. Then if they don't switch back, if they just swap lanes, then those lanes are going to be pushed against them. It's going to be harder to push, I guess. Or if they go bot lane, let's say both bot lanes go back to bot lane, then one of the sides is going to have it pushing inherently against them. And I don't know if that's. I don't know how that. I can't think of how that's going to work in terms of
You
the
don't
meta
need a
yet.
level advantage though in order for that to kick in.
I think they might have messed with it a little bit so that it's. I think turret advantage will do something, but it gets compounded with
Yeah.
levels.
I know turret advantage and the average level went hand in hand.
Oh
I
god.
didn't know if you needed average level in order to trigger it. Man, that was such a confusing change.
Yeah, they did take away the 3-level max thing. They maxed it 3 levels, but took away the part where it got a massive buff once you hit a 3-level advantage. That no longer is a thing.
Yeah.
So they at least. I mean, I don't really know if that's a change that really matters too much. The removing the 3 level shenanigans. I'm trying to scroll down and see what it ended up being.
Oh, like we were saying at the time, I don't think that change or taking away the 3-level advantage matters too much, because that is such a one-sided stomp in the first place.
Yeah.
It's rarely going to happen. I do think if on an average level advantage is required, then that does affect this trading. Okay, so it does affect the trading thing, because if you trade top and bottom tower, presumably you're still going to be even.
You should be even on levels still, yeah. I think
you still need to gain an advantage somewhere else before that, actually does something.
I think we really need to. That's a question that would be good to come back to. Like, I don't know, a couple months into the season. That's a really. Whereas you can see keystones really easily, like that was pretty easy to find out quickly. This takes way more in-depth look. It's so difficult to see at surface, really.
Well, you're gonna have to see a whole lot of games played and like watch how much this either affects or does not affect the games to be able to make a definitive decision on whether this was the right way to go when changing the whole meta situation up for a turret change or minion change or whatever. Like, and those things, they're subtle when the changes are just slight like this, but I've been playing. I played a bit this weekend and today, and I didn't notice anything too crazy. But again, that's just a really small amount of games being played.
And to talk about Thomas asking if it's better to keep a troll alive more so than trading it. I think most of the time teams don't really have the choice.
Right.
It's that another team rotates to a turret, they have the advantage there in numbers, and they're going to take it. So the other team's response is to take an objective somewhere else, and that's mainly. I mean, if they had a choice to keep the turtle alive, then you have something to consider there. But I don't think that's the case.
Yeah. All right. That seems like one to revisit a little bit later. So this one I actually kind of like, because I know I think we'll have a good answer for it, and it's also a happy one. This is Sean. Sean says, "Is it you, Chira? Is it you that sent this one?
It wasn't me.
Really? Okay." Sean says, "I've been listening to the podcast for about 5 months now, and I just want to thank all of you guys for how much you've helped me over that time. I started playing the game in early season 5, and when I first started listening to you guys, I was a bronze 2 jungle / support, having fun with the game, but I didn't really feel like I was improving as much as I could. After these last 5 months of listening to you guys and learning about the areas of the game that I didn't even have a concept of, I'm happy to say that I made it into Gold 5 as an 80 carry main just 5 days before the season ended."
That's quite the jump.
Yeah, awesome, man. That's
Change
great.
from jungle support. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, gold. Okay, whatever.
It was
Change
funny.
From jungle support to ADC. Whew, man.
I like how Mitch had made a joke about me setting this in, and as soon as I saw I was bronze 2 jungle support, my first thought was, I don't support.
So he finishes up he finishes up with this in mind. "I'm concerned about playing more ranked this season and possibly having my worst nightmare come true. So this is going dark real quick, guys. The worst nightmare is going on a losing streak and getting demoted back to silver 1. If this were to happen, would I lose all of my end of season rewards for getting to gold? I was also wondering what exactly determines when or if someone gets demoted. I have heard it is because of a certain number of losses at 0 LP, but I've also heard that it is purely because of MMR dropping too low for that league.
So it sounds like we're pretty late on this one.
Well, kind of, but it's the quick answer is you will not lose Victoria's Silver. You won't lose any of your end of season rewards. Those are already through, and that's done. I could go just Elo decay all the way to, I don't know, plastic
Negative-
4, and I would
Negative bronze, turquoise, blue, green.
turquoise,
something.
Jeep, yellow.
Yeah.
And you would, I'd still have my stuff from season 5. That's never going to get taken away.
Well, I'm wondering if he was asking during the season if
Before,
he got
right.
to gold and before he got the reward, if he's demoted, would he lose it?
Well, yes. Okay, sorry. If that's the question, then yes, it is what you are when you end the
What
season.
you
It's
finish
not
the
your highest rank for the season. So yes, in that scenario, then you would, if you did not end the season, if you got up to gold but ended the season silver 1, you would lose those rewards. But considering how much you improved in 5 months in switched mains, like from the 2 lanes that don't have to worry about CSing at all to the in jungle and support to the one that needs to CS CS the
Yeah.
most,
Right.
and you jumped all the way to gold 2. Gold 5. I'm pretty sure you're safe to stick around and try to see how high you can climb, because you'd be surprised. My first season to ranked was really season 4. Like I got gold season 1 and 2, but never really tried that hard. And season 3 didn't try that hard, and then ended up in plat in season 4. I was like, oh crap. Well, that was surprising but cool. So keep going for it.
Honestly, I wouldn't even put the pressure on yourself about worrying about losing the
You have to
skin
lose
or anything.
a lot of games.
And we'll get more into this when we answer the second part of the question. But I really wouldn't worry about losing the skins. If you want to play ranked, just because you want a challenge, you want a different sort of mentality from most players when you go into the games, just go play ranked. Like, rewards be damned, as cool as it is to get a skin like that. Hopefully you ended the season and you earned it. You got to gold 5, so you did great going from bronze 2 to gold 5. That's pretty awesome. Just go play. Like, it's fake internet points. You get a skin, whoop-de-doo, okay. What it's the difference between having a gold or a silver board or whatever. Just go play. Like, go play ranked if you want to play ranked. If you want a way to test yourself in an environment where other people are trying to test themselves as well, that's as screwed up as some of the player base can be in ranked. That's also sort of the purest form of trying to go in and do things in a solo mode in this game.
It can be a little dangerous to play ranked towards the end of the season, though, because everyone's really
People get
tryharding
crazy.
and people
Yeah.
rage more easily, and it can get ugly sometimes. But I think this kind of goes back to bolster yourself.
What do
and
you
asking
want?
yourself, did you achieve your goal this season? If you have, and you don't really like ranked for ranked, you just like ranked to achieve your goal, then all right, you're done.
Yeah, set
need
it
to play
out. You have
anymore?
no. All right. So, for example,
But like Shira was saying, before you go on,
Yeah,
like Shira
yeah.
was saying, if you enjoy ranked for what it is, and that is, basically the purest form, then keep playing it.
yeah, I'll just use myself for example, because this season I really didn't play all that much solo queue. I played, I think, 56 total solo queue games this season, which is nothing compared to what I've put in the past. And it was one of those things where I missed getting plat last season just because I played a lot early on in the season. I sat at gold 1 forever, and after being 1 win from plat promos over and over and over again, and not really feeling like dealing with it because I didn't care about getting plat that much, at the beginning of this season I played through my placements, placed pretty high, got into plat right away, just sat there because I didn't really care. Like, I'm not going to put a million games into trying to hit diamond. I knew where I wanted to be for the season. I hit my goal, if you want to call it that. And then it was just like, okay, if I feel like playing ranked this day, I'm just gonna go play ranked this day. Don't put any pressure on yourself. You'll play way better. I think I actually finished the season on like a 7-game win streak and ranked. And it was just because I didn't care anymore, so I didn't put any pressure on myself, and I was playing better for it.
Yeah, and I think you're gonna. So I'm not gonna say that your ranked season really started when you started listening to the podcast, but that's a very interesting number to put ahead of time. The 5 months, so that's you're talking about half the season is when
Yeah.
you started to make that climb. It's gonna be interesting to see what you make with a full season's worth of that. I guess new knowledge. I don't want to put too much on us here, but I'm actually really curious to know. Like you said, where was this? Learning about areas of the game that I didn't have a concept of. I'd actually be really curious to know what those are,
Well,
like specifically. And if you don't mind writing in, I'd be really interested to hear like,
honestly,
what people are
you could
grabbing from here.
even mean by that is that there's a lot of things a lot of people know about this game that they just know, but they don't recognize. So it's interesting, and this is something I've learned through podcasting or listening to this show even before I was on the podcast. I When you hear other people talk about stuff, it gives you a different perspective on something that you might take for granted, and then they say something that's kind of interesting, or they say something in a way that's we might say something in a way where it's like, oh, you can consider it that way, and then your perspective shifts, and it's like, okay, maybe I should be paying. Maybe Devour isn't the greatest in this situation. I can pick up Fighter Enchant earlier or anything like that. There are numerous things you can. There's so many variables in this game that just
what
listening.
champions are strong now is a big one,
Right,
and
right.
one that I always
Huge.
liked hearing about when I listened to the podcast, because there are so many champions out now, and everyone's got their favorites. You'll find out, oh, Champion X is good, and you have no idea.
Well, and in that
Because-
same mindset, X champions might be great, and then even before the Fiora rework, it becomes a situation where like Fiora is forgotten about for the most part, but then you run into somebody who's put in the time on Fiora, and she's crushing people left and right, and you're like, man, I thought that champion was supposed to be bad. How did we get destroyed so hard?
Yeah. So going down to your second part of the question, which is it's still pretty easy to cover, I think. The second part was I was also wondering what exactly determines when or if somebody gets demoted. I've heard it is because of a certain number of losses at 0 LP, but I've also heard that it is purely because of MMR dropping too low for that league. And I think it's a combo of the two.
Yeah, I mean it's the later, but you have to lose a lot of games in order to get to that point where your MMR is too low.
It's MMR based. That's
Yeah.
why if let's say you won enough games, you were on enough of a streak to where you were just floating a couple points above the MMR needed to get into the next league, but then you're in that next league, you're at 0 LP, and you lose a game, and now your MMR is below what's needed to get in that league. That's why you might see yourself drop after like one loss at 0 LP. You were floating on the edge.
Yeah, you've got to be still a good bit. Like you have a little bit of a buffer when you jump up to another higher tier. But
I've seen people on 5 losses at 0 LP not get demoted, and I've seen people with 1 loss at 0 LP get demoted. So it's going to be way more personalized for what your MMR is based at. But that makes sense.
yeah,
The MMR is all that really matters. Like LP is just that Riot implemented it to be a feel-good thing on like, okay, I can use this to say, hey, I'm going up to this next rank, and then they changed up a little bit how they were looking at it, and that it's not a great fun mechanic to look at. It's kind of soul-crushing when you hit 0 LP, get a loss, and you're down a division.
Supposedly, you also get a warning before
Now you're supposed
you're
to.
demoted. A warning that says, "Hey, you suck. Stop losing."
Right. Which just got to make you feel better, right?
yeah. No, I
Gotta
at
make-
least you know to
it's
stop
really-
playing ranked at that point.
That's really great for the old morale, ain't it?
But
Yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't blindside you if you get demoted.
But now we have the solo queue helper,
promo helper.
promo helper.
Yeah.
So now they even put something. It's not gonna help you greatly if you do hit 0 LP and get demoted, but if you keep getting into promo games and it doesn't look like you're gonna get all the way through them. Eventually, if you do it long enough, you'll be up in rank until you eventually get to gold 1.
There's also a good way of being able to tell. Like, so obviously you can't see your MMR, and there's a few ways you can tell. You can at least make an educated guess on where you are in the MMR compared to your rank, I suppose. Because if you are high enough in MMR, you can jump divisions. That's
Right.
happened to me both the last 2 seasons. I've jumped from, I think, gold 3 to gold 1 both
Jumping
years,
divisions feels really good.
which is sweet because it's also a little bit stressful because you're thinking like, I'm pretty sure I could jump here, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. And then if it happens, it's really really awesome. But you can kind of tell if that's happening based on how much LP you're gaining or losing during games. If you're ending up getting a big discrepancy either way, it either like you're getting, let's say, 30 LP on a win and 12 on a loss. It means that you're pretty safe. Like you're going to be climbing
your
really
MMR
quickly.
is much higher than the league that you're
Yeah.
currently in.
So it's trying to bump you up. The game is trying to push you towards where it thinks you are
If-
quicker. But the
you're-
same goes the other way.
If you're getting more than 20 LP a game, I like saying if you're getting around 25 LP a game, you're probably like MMR wise 2-ish divisions higher than the one you're currently in. And usually in those games, you're only losing 5 to 11 LP per game. Again, that's just based on personal experience early on. I guess now it's last season, season 5. But at the same time, another way you can look at kind of where you fall in the grand scheme of things is what are the level of the players that you're getting matched with?
Yeah.
Because the
you can
whole
see
point
that.
of the matchmaker system is to find people your skill level. Are you silver 2 and you're getting paired against gold 4s? Your MMR is a lot higher than the league that you're in. If you're gold 5 and you're getting paired against silver 2, your MMR is a little lower than the league that you're in. I mean, it's just the game is trying to match you to play against people at your skill level. And the way it does that is it looks to find it wants to find a balance to your win loss. So it wants you to be right around 50%.
Yeah. Also, if you end up going the goal route, like we were talking about, going to not the gold, but like you have a specific goal that you just want to meet, just remember that if you go for something like plat, once you hit plat, decay does set in, which is if you
Yes,
don't
it
play
does.
if you don't play for a month straight, I believe, you will start decaying. And I went down a division at the end of season 4, season 4 because of that. Didn't really matter. I think I was ended up at plat 5.
That
but
happened that happened to Adam earlier on this season where he hit plat and then didn't play for like a month and a week, and he thought he had another week before he started to decay, and he lost a bunch of LP and then
Whoops.
started playing again. But that's kind of on
You get a
you.
warning
You
for
get a
that,
message
too.
every single time you log in
Yeah.
that you're about to start decaying.
Yeah, they give you a 7-day warning once you hit that point. But again, if you're not at plat, then it doesn't matter. Like you could get to gold 5 and just not play ranked. Like you get there in January and don't even play ranked the rest of the season, you'll still have your gold at the end of the season. I mean, that's again, it's goal oriented. Is if that's all you want from ranked, go for it. Like that's
I was
your
about to
stress
say,
is done.
If you're hitting the point where you're starting to, like, let's say you are about to decay, maybe it's just because you don't really care about solo queue that much.
Yeah. Okay, I think that one's pretty beat in the ground. Congrats though. I love hearing about stories of people.
Yeah.
I love
Good job,
I
Sean.
love success story. Well, thanks, buddy, but not me.
No, the hell out
So
of you,
congrats,
not
guy who wrote in that shares my name and spells it the correct way because it's the only way you should spell it. I love you.
I want
you
to pretend that this was actually just you were listening a long time ago and this was like you forever ago. You were
Well,
bronze.
Adam did say he wants to make a book about how my hair has changed over the course of the show, between it being long, me shaving it, it growing back. He wanted to make a collage and send it to me so it wouldn't be the weirdest thing that's happened, right?
you. That is a little weird.
Yeah.
When you say it wouldn't be the weirdest thing that's happened, I feel like either something needs to be referenced that would be weirder because that's pretty high up there. I like that's at least challenging for the top couple
Yeah,
spots.
it's a pretty good one.
We'll wait
That's
till that gets
actually
made.
how the first thing he sent me this morning at work. Just texted me.
I wish it was no. I wish he had mailed you a book. I wish he.
That-
It's the first thing I got today at work was this book
He
of
starts
hair.
emailing me a bunch of pictures of me, and he's like, "This is your hair."
Where did you get these pictures?
from episode?
What angle is this?
Oh God. You know what? Here,
Were you
wait
outside
a
my
second.
window?
Wait a second. Where is it? Where?
I'm not gonna.
Man, I
look-
love going back to old episodes and watching your head hair evolve. November 5th, 2014, you had a head that was shaved. Thank you, Adam Cogswell. You're the best.
Okay.
And it's what's weird is that
What
he
a
actually
creep.
he has a real job too.
I know.
I mean, I do too, but I'm on Slack all the time also.
Ugh.
All right, I think this is the final question for tonight, which I think is actually pretty. It transitions well into that other thing I wanted to talk about, was just preseason shenanigans. This one's from Alex. He says, "I'm currently touring about Europe, so have been away from league since they announced the preseason. Your podcast has been the only thing keeping me in the know, alongside bullshit quotes. This game is now terrible, unquotes posts we're all too used to on Reddit.
But
You've-
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
you've gone into
Oh, league Reddit.
You've gone into lots of detail about specific changes, but you're yet to discuss what all these changes mean in the grand scheme of things. Would you be able to summarize all the changes, the direction the game is going, and what this means for your average players and professional players going into the new season? Are you excited by what these changes are bringing to the game? AKA, is this game going to total shit or not?"
The game's not going to total shit.
Agreed.
Relax.
I think the reason we haven't talked about the grand scheme of things is because it's so hard to figure out what it's going to be when you've
Well,
got all these small changes dumped in your plate. I mean, pretty
and
much all we have to go on is what Riot tells us what their plan is.
It's not just that either. It's also in that, and I think this is just us being experienced from doing the preseason stuff twice now, maybe more. What they start out with in the preseason is not usually how the preseason ends.
Yeah.
So when the actual season starts, it's very, very different than everything that went on right at the beginning of the preseason, which is really, really exciting. I love this time of year because League is like a new present every week between
Me too. I
every
like
single
this time
thing that
too.
they add. It's a lot of fun because there's way more innovation or weird stuff going on than there is during almost any other time of the year. All the people that were panicking about the game getting too sped up a few weeks ago and whatnot, I think it's funny because I kept seeing left and right how games are only lasting 22, 23 minutes or whatever. I don't think I played a single game that week that didn't last at least 40 minutes. And again, that's just anecdotal experience. They've slowed the game down a bit over just the last couple of changes, and that was also a goal between the turret changes, and they've sped it up a little bit with the jungle changes now spawning a bit sooner and all that stuff. Actually, the 5 seconds on the extra time you get on the new smite's pretty sweet too, but the whole preseason's a balancing act. We don't even at this point have a great idea of how things are going to play out because everything is still in a giant hurricane of craziness that is prone to being changed at a moment's notice week to week.
I really like that balancing act was kind of a pun, even though I don't know if it was meant to be. I see, compared to last preseason was kind of there wasn't as big of a there was a huge change. Last preseason's when they added in dragon changes.
Right.
Changed up
buff
jungle
changes.
things. They changed up a lot of things, but overall, for the whole like scheme of the game, not a bunch changed. And I mean that in comparison to the addition of something like Rift Herald. Rift Herald is something that people have to figure out still.
Right.
Have to figure out when to do that. That's something that's really exciting to see how people adapt to. And I'm sure Riot is loving data on that. But if you think about how Dragon worked, Dragon was always a good thing to get early in season 4 and before, and it still was in season 5. It just kind of changed what it gave you.
It wasn't as good to get early now.
It wasn't as good, but it was still like
But you
people
didn't have
inherently were
an
like,
alternative
yeah,
like
you
do
didn't
with Rift Herald now.
Right.
yeah, you had nothing else to go for. So I think that this will have a different sense of adaptation. Like I guess Rift Sculler came along too in season 5. God, there was a ton. I think there's less overall, but they're overall map things. but now they're kind of trying to figure out how to specialize uh, certain roles with marksmen getting such a unique overhaul to a lot of
The
them.
Juggernaut changes this year.
The Juggernaut changes, the eventual Mage changes that we hinted at, which I say hinted at when Riot was the ones who even hinted at it, so
Right.
it's like a double hint at that point.
AD itemization, like there's been a bunch of crazy stuff, not just in the preseason, but over the past 6 months as a whole. So again, stuff's up in the air, but as to is this game going to total shit or not, the big question is, are you still having fun playing this game? Because if the answer is yes, then the game's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
You nailed it there.
yeah,
I also think that even if you're not having fun in the previous patch, because games were so short, and your experience, by your I mean whoever's listening,
Right.
then give it a time, because again, preseason is crazy. And let's bring up that Riot does like to change the meta. They like to force changes in the meta, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, you don't want the game to get stale. In this preseason, they might have been trying to speed up the game a little bit, because they added snowball mechanics back into the game. The balancing act is, what is the perfect length for a game? You don't want it to be too short, and you also don't want it to be too one-sided. So there's a lot of levers to pull where you want a game to be a certain length, but you also want to be competitive throughout the entire time. That's pretty
Well,
difficult to balance.
and even in that, do you want the individual that can get ahead early to have more influence, or is a team coming together worth more than that? It isn't just that, hey, let's speed up, slow down the game, this or that. Like, they've been tweaking a bunch of interesting stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, they
I-
did lower single player impact, as you're saying, or
Mhm.
yeah, because when you kill someone with a huge bounty, that's team wide now. It's spread out.
Mhm.
It's not just 500 gold to a single person. So it looks like it's more team oriented there.
So one thing that I think is interesting, I agree with the a little bit of what you said. I think Riot doesn't force a certain meta; they force a shift,
Yes,
and it's
yeah,
it's
that's what I
not
meant
one
to
that
say.
it's not one that they know is for sure going to be a certain one. Like when they added all the jungle items, like when Cinderhulk came in, they thought it was probably going to happen. It did. Obviously, Cinderhulk ended up being like ridiculous for a while, and I think that with everything that was just added this preseason, they're saying, "Hey guys, figure out what the meta is now,
Right.
because it's going to be decided obviously by you." And I think it's very interesting to see their approach to how they change things once they say, "All right, well, now people are buying Lord Dominic's," or like this is of course like a few months down the road or so when they actually have like we have maybe a more stable meta, but everything's all crazy right now. It's tanks right now. Next week it might be something else. But
Right.
once it actually settles,
And 2 weeks
Oh
ago,
my
it was
gosh.
it was 80 carries.
yeah,
So, what Riot does is Riot builds the stage and fills the stage with props, which are items, and then it's just up to the actors to figure out
That
what's
was a great metaphor.
going to be good to play.
A plus.
I love it. I love it. Um,
Yeah, I mean, just the addition of Rift Herald alone. Who knows how that's going to change up? I'm really excited to see the pro scene when it comes back.
yeah, it's interesting because that's okay. So obviously in the buff jungle camps, it's you have that same idea of last hit gets the buff, but you're usually pretty safe to trade it around to who you want. Like I'm curious to see who ends up grabbing that more often. Like is it going to be the jungler because he can go to more lanes? Is it going to be the top laner? Is it going to be whichever laner kills their opponent and then goes with the jungler and then
I mean,
pushes that advantage?
Is it so powerful that they send duo top lane now?
Yeah.
Because you can't risk losing the Rift Herald and then start mowing down turrets.
And honestly, that's been the most interesting thing about the whole Rift Herald conundrum, in that Dragon's still good to get early because free power is always good, but is it worth to get early if the enemy team can get something else that's better early for it? So I've liked what I've seen out of Rift Herald so far. I know a lot of people bitched about it, but it's cool, and then it gives me more of a focus on top lane now, that it's like, oh hey, now if something bad happens bot and they decide to take Dragon early and they picked up a double kill, we can do this thing up here to hopefully negate some of that steam engine that's rolling through the bottom side of the map at the moment. I like changes like that because it forces people to react, and nobody knows what's the best thing to do at the moment. So you get to see some cool stuff out of it.
I think that duo top is going to happen, not necessarily as the full shift, but I think that it's at least going to be toyed with because that was the whole reason for bot was
Dragon
you're
control.
around the one objective that's around at that time. Like you if you didn't put the duo bot, like it's just free dragons and dragon like it is good early, but it's 8%, 6% AD and AP. It that scales up over time, of course. And like if you are winning a game but you don't get your first dragon for a while, it'll be much better like immediately then.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you can now focus on something that's way more worth it early on. Actually
Well,
gives global gold too.
you can even look at it in the theoretical that hey, you have a tanky support, or even if it goes on your 80 carry or whatever, you're able to get the Rift Herald buff on somebody. Like say it is an 80 carry and a support versus an 80 carry and support in the top lane. It's going to be harder for the enemy. The 80 carry that team does not have the Rift Herald. It's going to be harder for him to last hit minions that are taking less damage if he's shooting at the melee minions while they're hitting on his turret. And it's going to be easier for the enemy jungler to gank a lane that's has minions that are stronger than the other side's minions and are automatically going to be pushing. So it adds a bunch of extra interesting things to the lane that weren't there before, which is cool to me.
Yeah, I think it'll be curious to look back at what we originally think was going to be like the biggest things about this. I think that the obvious one is Rift Herald. I don't know what it's finally going to end up.
Love it or hate it, it looks like it's here to stay for the time being. So,
oh, I guess it doesn't actually buff. It doesn't buff the tankiness of your minions.
oh, it doesn't.
No,
Well, then
it
throw
gives
that out the
you.
window, but it should.
It gives 40% increased attack speed to minions
That's
and
still
100
fine.
extra and 100 extra range to cannon minions.
It's
So
automatically going to be shoving harder than.
It's
so
gonna be
that-
shoving.
still-
It's gonna shove
yeah,
super
it still
hard.
works out, and it's still going to be for the most part harder with the turret shooting things underneath, regardless. So, plus if it's clearing out the minions quicker and not just hitting the turret, it might hit the enemy 80 carry or support more, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, you're getting combat stats. You're getting the 10%
Yep.
increased damage,
Yep.
which is just great. There's no time that you're. Ah, damn it! I wish I didn't have that extra 10%.
Man, that's interesting because
Yeah.
I feel like that it reminds me so much of Baron buff that I thought that it gave the damage reduction, but apparently not.
I think it's a little bit of.
But that would
I
be
think that'd
really
be-
broken. That'd be so
Yeah.
broken early. That'd
Yeah.
be so broken early.
Yeah, you just pretty much you get somebody with teleport
Yeah.
them to the lane with your with the enemy 80 carry, and just are
Just
able to
ruin
just
their day.
shut them down.
Yeah, I mean that'd be an awesome strategy if it were available.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy that it's not because just even thinking about that immediately sounds
Makes-
really strong,
yeah.
and you don't even have to think about it. You're like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
duh,
it'd be
duh,
really
duh.
good.
I do think there still needs to be an option for whether to take Rift Herald or another objective, and that kind of goes into, kind of brings it back to Alex's original question a bit, whereas how to judge the health of the game, and I think that can come down to measuring the uniqueness of each game you're playing.
Right.
That's something Riot's touched on in the past. Is they
How many
want each
choices
game to
can
feel
you make?
unique, right?
Yep.
And that comes down to, like you said, how many choices it takes, how many choices you make during the game, how many objectives there are. I mean, the strategies have got to change each game based on your team comp, the enemy's team comp, and just making those in-game choices. And if each game is the same, and each game is everyone goes duo lane top and they fight over Rift Herald because that's uber powerful, and then whoever gets Rift Herald wins the game, then that's not healthy. That's not healthy for the game. That's not fun.
Right.
Yeah, it should give you the advantage, but it shouldn't be. Nothing in the game is auto win,
Right.
and the only things that are close to it are like 5 dragons, and that's still takes forever,
Right.
and that's you building up so long over time that you finally
about
get the
to say,
Exodia combo.
If you go long enough and you do get 5 dragons, or the whatever team that took 5 dragons, they probably deserve to win that game anyway.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
also
I've seen people with 5 dragons still lose too. So
I have as well.
That's not even guaranteed.
I definitely have as well.
yeah
I've been on a team that's gotten 5 dragons and lost.
One thing that I like hearing about, more in LCS stuff, but also something that I know is going to swing back to the first question just real briefly about the how to help your team win the game, is to identify what your win conditions are. Like if you've got, this is, I'm not going to be talking about the victory he was discussing about, but yeah, if you have early dragons and you say, well, we're not winning quite yet, but if we are able to pick up a couple more dragons off of picks, then we can win that way. Or if I realize we have an early game team that we need to win early or it's not going to happen, and so try to push advantages early, or a late game comp. Like that's identifying those. I know really has nothing to do with the current question, but it's something that I forgot, and I think is really really important towards knowing how to try to win your game.
Yeah, I mean your victory objectives change each game.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be you're not gonna win the game the same way every time. If you're playing a pick comp, you play that a lot differently than you do a wombo combo comp.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything else on those questions, but
Do we want to reflect on Illawai a little bit again? Because I played against her.
Alawi.
Yeah,
Tell me.
Illawai.
I know.
Illawi.
I only watch the
Illow.
Champion Spotlight, and that's it. You guys gotta tell me.
I
Did you play her some more?
honestly, I don't think she's that scary. And the biggest thing is, I just think the tentacle damage takes people by surprise because they're not used to the tentacles or the timing on them. So they get hit by multiple ones, and then they're like, "Wow, that's OP."
Yeah.
It's really not that difficult to get around stuff.
Yeah, the
Go ahead.
the vessel thing that we talked about on Monday. Like I
Yeah.
think that if you're the only time that I'm super scared of being a vessel is when I'm running away from a fight or running away like past my turret, and I'm scared that one's gonna hit me.
Right.
Literally, if that happens in that situation, dodge the first one and immediately start recalling, and you will make it back to base
you'll be
before the
fine.
next one happens. Although the other important thing is that if Alawi ults, they will swing 50% faster, and I believe you might still be in danger. Not really that sure. I haven't tested that out, but be aware. Don't take everything as one specific instance. But yeah, that's a great way to get out of it and deal with what looks like an oppressive champion. But yeah, I agree. Once people figure it out, I think it's actually
Yeah.
underpowered champ.
It's a situation where the mechanics are so unique that as soon as the mechanics work on you, you're like, man, that's really broken because you don't know what to do against those mechanics. But as soon as it's like, okay, this isn't as difficult to sidestep if you're actually paying attention. Honestly, I think the biggest thing is people are used to just playing and they're not worried about stuff hitting them from odd angles that wouldn't typically be hitting them from. And that's kind of a big part of her kit. The thing is, you can see where those angles are. So it becomes, man, maybe you just really positioned poorly against this and got a little over aggressive and died for it.
She's trying to the reason people are failing. I'd say one of the big reasons people are failing is you're getting hit by those odd angles, and then you get kind of tilted really quickly because you're like, well, I don't know how to play against that. Damn it, that's so
Yeah, what do
difficult.
I even
How do you just stand there? Do you try to just let it happen, and then it ends up beating you down pretty quickly? Yeah, I'm not too concerned about her. I actually want to try her some more with Iceborne Gauntlet and see if that ends up. I think that's pretty good.
Great on her, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, so when I saw her, I immediately started comparing her to other people in her role, and she is classified as a juggernaut. So I'm comparing her to something like Darius, right? So she's got limited ways to get to her target, but as juggernauts function, if they do get to their target, they blow them up.
She doesn't blow
do
them up.
that?
She doesn't blow them up.
Or can she do it like Darius can?
she can
Why
do
would I
a
pick
chunk.
her over Darius?
She can do a pretty good chunk of damage if she hits you with multiple tentacles, or like you
But
get a
does
really
that
good
require more
spirit
setup?
grab. I mean,
Kind of.
yeah, kind of, unless you ult and get a really decent ult off.
She provides more. All right, so what she does more than Darius. Darius can just roll, like, murder people down, and Alawi can do the same, but I think she provides more AoE damage with her potential with the tentacles, whereas Darius has his Q, which does a good bit of damage, but otherwise he's very single target focused in terms of how much damage he's going to be outputting. And so that's what she brings more. I still don't know of a reason to pick her over somebody like Darius if if you need a juggernaut, but because it's still
And
physical
she-
damage, it's still
From
It's-
what they said, what they wanted originally with Juggernauts is they wanted them to be kind of lumbering, and when they get to you to start doing damage. Playing against her now that I kind of know what to do against her, I feel like she's pretty slow.
And her dash is like no distance, so
Right.
like you aren't scared of that at all. If you're
And
like,
if you catch her out, not getting away.
yeah, she
It's
can't.
not happening.
Yeah, she's very bad at like once if you can't get into the range, and I've had this happen multiple times where I was hitting W and I was expecting, oh, I have to be in range, right? I must be in range, and then you're just not at all, and it's really disappointing.
Right.
Clearly, rapid fire cannon's the best item. Then you just build rapid fire cannon
Oh, yeah.
and get that extra range.
That range.
I think that would work. I'm not actually sure.
You know what? Why don't you do that the first game you play her? That sounds like a great
It
idea.
doesn't.
Going into
It
ranks.
doesn't work on Rengar's passive, correct?
Yeah, we figured that out apparently.
Probably wouldn't work here, but you can try it.
Yeah, but it's I don't know. Well, we'll find that out eventually. So yeah, you guys got anything else?
I think that wraps it up.
Yeah.
Cool. So to remind you guys, please go check out Teespring. That's teespring.com/KingDC. I think I probably said that wrong, so I'm checking really quick because
It sounded
is-
right.
Yeah, teespring.com/KingDC. You're correct.
oh my gosh, that's
And
makes me so
all
happy.
of the
Greatest.
proceeds are going to the National MS Society. We're not getting anything from it, so we're donating it all to support our good friend D. Claude.
And what's really amazing is I just checked this now. We had a goal on how many to sell, and I don't know what it was. I think last time it was 50.
It was 50.
It's been going on for 2 days, and we've sold 65.
Yeah. So if
Yeah.
you want to get in on it, Frank.
Well, we're selling. It says you can keep buying until the campaign ends. That's December 21st. So you've got a couple weeks, but don't forget about it.
The
It's
perfect Christmas gift.
it's
It
the
is.
perfect Christmas gift. Christmas gift to the
Christmas
Claude
gift.
and to us. Mostly just to help the Claude, though.
And if you get whenever you get yours, take a picture, send it to us on Twitter, do whatever, harass us on Twitter. We love it.
We love harassment.
Harassed.
Love
Claude
harassment.
loves seeing his name on people's chests.
Yeah, he loves it.
All right, I think that'll do it for us, guys. I think that was episode 315. We will be back next week with maybe some special guests in the near future. We haven't. I don't know if we have any of those dates specifically locked up, but I feel like the next couple weeks are gonna be exciting for that.
Things are going to be exciting, at least from what Adam has told me about people who are coming on the show. So please continue to listen. It's going to be great.
It's not just gonna be a storybook telling of Adam flipping through the pictures of Chira's hair.
Can we please never talk about this again?
It's gonna be
it
every
is-
time now. You shouldn't have let me
so
join.
Terrible.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
See ya.